Hi, I'm Glenn Goldberg, and I hope that everybody's safe and well at this time. VSC recently let me know that they are going to air a lecture that I gave in 2016 when I was up in Johnson. So I do hope that you enjoy it and hopefully find something in it. Thanks so much to everyone up at VSC. I love it up there. It's a home away from home for me. So sending love and hope everybody stays well. Bye bye. Okay, so in response to Gary's introduction, I just want to take a minute to verify that it's true. I have been coming here for probably over 2 decades, and as he also said, I've made great friends, many of whom are in the room right now. So John and Louise and George and Andrea and Meg and Greg. Who am I forgetting? Gary, who used to run the writing program. Tara, Mark, just I was talking to John this morning, and it says a lot about a place that so many people have been here for so long, and are committed to a place like this, which is, as you all know, kind of peaceful and extraordinary, and for many of us, a great place to get away from the complexity of our lives elsewhere. So I sincerely have always appreciated that this is like a steady part of my life for a long time. I always look forward to coming up here, and I come up here actually with no anxiety because it feels like home, and I know I'm going to be able to catch up with some people because in our daily lives, most of us don't get a chance to see each other or even speak to each other. So I want to say that there's heartfelt appreciation for all the good times that I've had here. Okay, so before we look at images, I just want to tell you a little bit about my background. As Gary said, I grew up in New York. I grew up in the Bronx, sort of a public school kid. Nothing particularly challenging in school, so I was kind of a good student without having to work too hard. I wouldn't say I was lazy, but it was not a challenging environment. And nor, I was thinking about this today, was I driven by my household. So there was no sort of drive to be something or get involved in something deeply. So my youth was kind of enjoyable, but nothing particularly gripping. And then my dad left, and that was big. So I was raised by my mom and my grandmother. I just tell you that because that's huge in my life, and what all that would imply. And then I was in college, 70s, still 60s, a lot of music, a lot of politics, Vietnam War, a lot of experimentation, a lot of drugs, a lot of sex, and not an environment that also was geared towards achievement. It was certainly more counterculture, and the man and all those sort of things were not what people were involved in. So given that I was sort of bouncing around in college, I decided to leave, and I traveled across Canada and the States for about a year, hitchhiked, which was what people were doing in those days, and that was pretty amazing. To be on my own and just sort of get away. I guess I needed to get away from everybody and everything. So that was a big part of my past. Came back, met my wife at a summer camp. The only job I ever got fired from. I was there for 5 days and got fired because I wasn't with the kids. I was playing guitar out in the woods, and they sort of said, okay, thank you for your service. So that happened, but I met my wife, who I was immediately kind of drawn to in a way I hadn't been drawn to anybody else before. And I was never the kind who would approach a girl or a woman and ask them out or anything. So I found out from a friend of my brother's, who was one of her best friends, that she also kind of was checking me out. So I felt confident, called her up. We've been married 35 years now, with the trials and tribulations, but we're solid. We've got a son But an important thing about Lori was that I was out of college and had dropped out when I met her, and she sort of encouraged me to go back and encouraged me to, I remember she said, you should probably finish what you started. And at that point, I started to take some art classes and felt like, this might be something worth doing. Then I went to the New York Studio School, so for any of you who know that, that's a very rigorous place, and I just jumped into the deep water, looked around and felt like, I don't know how I'll do here. And then I quickly felt like, yeah, I think I might want to do this. And then, grad school and working all sorts of jobs. I was probably the worst waiter in the history of restaurant service. Did some steam fitting work as a helper, delivered the Village Voice, Interview Magazine, all sorts of things, and had a studio. And then I was fortunate to start to exhibit some work and also get into teaching, which I've been doing since the kind of the mid-'80s, So that's the autobiographical section of the lecture this evening. So let me just explain the structure of what I put into the flash drive for tonight. I've got a bunch of drawings that I basically just made, and I've got some objects that I have made, and then some glass works that I've made, and then I'm going to end up with some paintings that I also just made. So the beginning is brand new drawings, and the end are brand new paintings, and in between are some older works and some recent objects. I paint and draw consistently, and I guess I've done that a lot more than making three-dimensional works, but I've done that also consistently, but just less frequently. So maybe that's it for now. The goal is to try to open up and talk to you, without too much professional, things, because I've been blessed to be very excited about like committing to a physical realm, which of course we discuss and attach words to. But I've been fortunate. I had great teachers who sort of taught me the language of drawing and painting and structure and sculpture. So it's important to say, like, that any of us who may make work and have been able to make a bunch of work, that's like a true exciting blessing. Okay, so I'm going to begin. Dave's getting tired of standing by the lights there, and we could start. All right, thanks. I think I'm good. Yeah. Okay. Great. So what I have in my paintings and drawings are a sort of a group or a team of icons that I use over and over again. And they sometimes drop off, and sometimes I'll add another one, but they don't accumulate quickly. There's not a ton of them. And they get used fairly frequently before they depart. So here's a couple of them. The walking, to me it's a guy, and then there's a bird. And as we'll see through a lot of these drawings, different icons will come up, and quite simply I'm just trying to use them and put them into different situations. I don't know, I don't have an idea like, let's put him in front of a bird. It's all very done on the fly, but because I've been working a certain way for a long time, I trust it. Yeah.
What are they made out of?
These are made out of ink and very thin down watercolor, and some of it is sprayed with an airbrush, which is the first time I ever used it. It lasted about a month, and I got so disgusted with cleaning it, and it sort of, so I don't know how we're going to do, but it's in some of these. But all water, basically all water, and the spray is also water. Right. Yeah, so the dog, this is a bird that replaced the previous bird. I guess maybe I could just tell you who's currently involved. The dog, the guy, a different kind of guy, this bird, a duck, recently a rainbow. These rainbows are brand new, and I actually think it's a great idea. You know, I don't mean, you know, yeah, I mean, it's such, like I'm interested in the generic, right? So that this dog is not a species, nor is the bird. It's simply a dog, you know, and hopefully, due to the form and its stature, it has some kind of character that, you know, is compelling. But the rainbow is sort of an offshoot, because that's more of like a cliche. Like, I don't think I would do sunsets, but somehow a rainbow in my world seems to make sense. I want to be clear that it's really far more from some sincere side than distance and irony. You know, I've never really operated out of some interest in like a smirky approach to bringing something new into the world. I'm kind of very interested in the decorative arts as well as the fine arts, and bringing something into the world that maybe is some kind of a help. You know, that I do operate out of that hope. Yeah, right.
These stencils?
The icons are, yeah. There's a bunch of different stencils, different sizes, and then yeah, they're kind of interesting in of themselves. They get kind of beat up and put through stuff. Yeah. I'm not so sure of all of these, but that's okay. I mean, sincerely, you know, constant kind of scrutiny, like, you know, with the goal. Another way to state the goal might be to make something that feels complete, but we want to continue to look at. So it's a high hope. Because even those of us who look at work don't look at it frequently. Like a while ago, I realized that most work is almost all the time on pause or is dormant, right? Even the things in my own house, which I do look at, but I don't look at them every day, for example. They're there and they have sort of an ambient effect on us. But it's interesting for any of us who make art to make something that we would like people to look at a lot, but the truth is, even those who are interested in it rarely look at it. I don't think that's a negative, but I kind of find it interesting that art is almost always on pause, or often even in a closet or in storage or in a rack, and but somehow it matters. Like, strange. Anyway, yeah. Yeah, see, that something like that feels a bit more odd and alive. And, you know, one thing to say, it's not really true of those black birds, but generally I'm working with air and water, so to speak, as opposed to matter. Most of the things that I make aren't really made out of anything. It's generally nothing there except a form or an icon or a mood, or, you know. So I do like the lightness of the intention. Yeah. Words are hard. Like one could say, oh, they're mystical, they're spiritual, they're, you know, there's a stack of words that often are more misleading than they are. You know, like we get ideas about things. Even if someone says, oh, what do you do? I'm a painter. Like, it seems as if people get an idea about what that is or what that means. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know about this one, but yeah.
What's the scale of these?
These are all the same size. They're like I think it's like a 22 by 30 ripped into quarters. So what would that be, like 11 by 15? Yeah. Yeah, this one suits me. I mean, not that that matters, but yeah. Yeah, I like these worlds. Yeah. Just swimming around somewhere. Yeah. or flying around somewhere. So all sorts of conversations I guess we could have, you know. I'll just throw this out there. The art world is a funny place because it seems as if it wants anybody with a social or political consciousness to be literal about it and bring it in a literal fashion, you know. I mean, privately, I guess I feel like, yeah, I'm engaged by how I need to grow into myself and how I need to understand what my behavior does and how we need to, you know, truly respect and be open to each other and not quickly profile and all that. So I just want to put that out in the room because I believe that we all are involved in that, and these segregational kind of, you know, categorical distinctions between, as if certain people are engaged with politics and human rights and important issues and others are sort of doing something else. I want to say, nah, don't think so, you know, not that simple. That's some sort of editorial, I guess, but, you know, yeah. But a lot of my thing is, wow, can I actually make something that, you know, is intimate and loving, right? And maybe cared for when I make it, but also has other things, right? So it's not just appearance of appeal, you know, that beauty is a deep thing, and somehow, and this I could not prove ever, but somehow the work that I make is my version of what goes on, you know. Again, obviously it's not literal, you know. We don't walk out of our place and see this, but, you know, yeah. State the obvious. Yeah. So a lot of it is, if throughout the years, you know, what is that? And a lot of my answers are, I'm not quite sure, you know, and I'm okay with that. Doesn't mean I don't know what it is, but I don't know how to name it, and that's what I mean by the existence in a physical realm, and trusting that and understand that that's deeply communicative. You know, the further we get into it, we speak to each other, you know, and we can nod or smile or scratch our head. You know, that's a beautiful thing. Right. And try not to shut it down, you know. Try not to let too many unnecessary external intrusions, you know, slow us down or shut us down or make us feel overly self-conscious about a very natural act of getting physical and attempting to be communicative. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Okay, I think I showed that already, but that's all right. What's happening? I'm pushed. Oh, there we go. All right. Yeah. That's okay. The heads are up, you know. Yeah. Right. So they're looking and we're looking, right? That's sort of what goes on. I don't know what goes on with this bird on a stick thing, but that happens a lot too. Do you know? Might be some kind of form of placard or, you know, presentation or, yeah. Right. Secondary forms might be that form up top left, that orange form, stars, yeah. My studio's filled with lots of stencils that get picked up kind of on the fly, but every now and then I'm looking for one of my main ones and can't find it. And that's a tough moment. Where's the damn bird? Yeah. Yeah. This one kind of interests me. That fuzzy black creature coming in off the edge. Do you know? For me, even though I've used this dog extensively, I like the fact that he's kind of friendly, his tail's up, you know, he might be a little bit foreboding, you know. Again, like us, right? Yeah. So simple things. I'll have them face each other and have their beaks touch, right? Which is a very simplistic kind of gesture, but all of a sudden they become lovers, you know. A couple here, or friends, or, you know. All right. Okay. Okay, so some objects or three-dimensional things. Yeah, this is the other form of the guy, I guess. You know, again, people say, "Hey, I like your gingerbread man," and that's fair enough, right? I understand that, you know. But inside, I'm like, no, it's not a gingerbread. You know? Right? You know? It's absolutely, and it's just insane, but it's absolutely wrong. I'm sorry to say, but yeah, right. So this actually was a misfiring on a 3D printer, which I thought was so great. You know, any of you have worked with one, you know how these things are made, and this one got, you know, all messed up, and it was a great accident. You know, yeah. This is I made a ton of rabbits. I've cast a ton of things in the last few years, and tried different materials to make them with. This was a good rig. I had the mold, I had spray insulation, and then I had a piece of plexiglass I drilled some holes through, so it would basically keep it down, but the overflow could get through, and this was the result. You know, a somewhat, I don't know, you know, looks like been through a bit, right? You know? Scale's weird. It's sitting inside of a house with half the roof off, and I don't have a good explanation for it, but yeah. Yeah, here's a paper mache duck. Right, that's a ceramic piece. So yeah, as we see, there's that whole world of leaves and nature and inhabitants, I guess could be the simple way to look at it. This I actually made up here probably 8 years or so ago, tinkering in the sculpture. Meg knows that about me. I probably broke a few too many bandsaw blades or whatever, but you know, come up here and tinker in the sculpture room, and I made this sort of feather piece. Small, all of these are small and kind of intimate pieces. Right. And these are a group of ceramic sort of sticks, but they were inspired by a friend of mine who many of you probably know about talking sticks, and leaders in certain tribes, certain cultural contexts have these sticks, and sometimes they give it to someone else and ask them to speak. It's not what these are used for, but that's what inspired these. So I basically made a bunch of ceramic sticks that sit in these wooden holders that you can pick up, hold, not do a whole lot with, and put them back. You know, and that sounds like a funny thing, but we do that a lot. Right, I made a bunch of things. Some of them I'll show you in a bit that were based off of snow globes. You know, the things that you pick up, they give you some kind of simplistic kind of, you know, thing that they do. But as artists, again, holding them and the material that they're made from and the weight of them, the color of them, it's all part of the meaning area that we all function in. Okay, so this is a small space in Williamsburg that a husband and wife have. She's an artist. It's all glass in the front. It's got beautiful proportions. It's very high. narrow and intimate. And the great thing about it is it led me to put up an exhibition in a way that was very much like a little altar or chapel of some sort, right? So as we see, I've got this big drawing on a tarp, flanked fairly symmetrically by those two rabbits. They're the talking sticks on the bench, and then they're flanked, I guess, by simultaneously objects, but in my mind, onlookers, or we could use the word congregants or procession, what have you. So what was exciting for me was, I mean, it's a pretty non-commercial space. It's basically just artists that do shows there and artists that come and look at it. What was exciting for me was how straightforward I was about the underlying relationship, secular relationship that I have, like I said earlier, with bringing something into the world and wanting to create a certain ambiance. Like, can I or can any of us thwart the gallery ambiance and do something in there that has some degree of spirit, religiosity, solitude, all those things. So, and also on the heels of that, I don't know that it has to look a certain way. So like the laughter in the room or the aspect of it that's weird or quirky, that's okay with me. It's part of living the life. So I don't feel like they're exclusive, the intention to want to bring something in with that mindset, but also understand that I and things are ridiculous or seemingly meaningless, and right. Okay. Yeah, here's one of the cast rabbits. This is epoxy, and I would cast it in a couple of sessions, and I would sometimes put things inside of the body. So this is just like a decorative, shiny. It's got a little silver and black circle piece of cloth that is embedded inside of this rabbit. Okay, so these were made actually in 1995, this and a few other pieces, but these were the ones that started based off of the snow globe. The idea that you have a container, you have a liquid, and you have this little world that you could peer into. I was lucky, I worked with two guys who had a hot shop outside of, in Kansas actually. And we proceeded to make forms quite simply. I knew that liquids would come in, and then I shopped for things to put inside. And it was an experiment. As we see this sludge on the bottom of this, there were some chemical reactions that were odd and surprising. Some of them, like I said, you do it and you go, oh, that doesn't do very much, put it back down. Some of them had a little more action. They would suds up or there'd be some movement. So it was, yeah. That's what happened with these. Some of them were lovely. This one's kind of sweet. It was mouthwash. The color kind of got absorbed by these objects and became clear. It's like a little bubble bath. Who knows? But fun, interesting, new project for me. Yeah. And that's part of it, right? Gifting ourselves with trying something new, not feeling like we have to cling to an identity of being a certain kind of artist that does this specific thing. Brian talked about it last night. Some of us need to meander. Curiosity is a huge blessing. So, yeah, I had a good time doing this. Yeah, this was like an oil and water thing. I think the red is, what kind of oil in a car is red? Whatever. The green is antifreeze and the red is, what is it? Yeah, I think it's something like that. Power steering, whatever. Doesn't matter. Yeah. This one's kind of more beautiful for the form and the amount of water that was in it. Don't know about the beads, but yeah. And then, okay, how many years? 95, 05, 20 years later, the back of my mind, and only in the back, because I've always got my hands full making work, was, it'd be nice to make some glass again. So I made some of these in Brooklyn at a place called Urban Glass. These are also forms that are waiting not just to have liquids. I'm not sure how many will have liquids, but some of them will have a cloth wrapped around their neck. Some of them will get capped. They're basically waiting to be added to or be dressed in some form. You know, I don't mean literally as if it's clothing, but so here's a bunch of these forms. They started off more colorful. They ended up being less colorful. So the idea, once again, in larger form and actually higher quality, was to just make some vessels, excuse me, that perhaps will become something. Yeah, this was when I felt like it started to get a bit less aggressive in color. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. This form I like. You kind of twist at the top. Sort of like, yeah, this is more like it for me. Quieter, gentler, like water, you know. So even with color, I've always attempted to make what I would call low volume work, you know. I've never had any intention of screaming with my art or wanting it to be loud, yeah. So that's a challenge, to use color and not have it be aggressive, because color is inherently aggressive, I would say. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, these too colorful for me. But yeah. Glass is amazing. It's really wild. Yeah. Yeah, those on the table, those got to be something more odd and kind of beautiful. That milky, quasi-opaque, actually. It got a little more opaque, and I was using some things, metal sort of objects I'd push into it while the glass was hot. Pretty exciting stuff. Yeah. And then some sort of blanks, I guess I could call them. No color, simple forms, yeah. Okay, so here's some recent paintings. Yeah, some of them have this rainbow idea, but then inevitably my inhabitants need to participate. So these aren't huge, although I've been making some 7-8 foot paintings lately. This is 6 foot high. To me, they're all of a very related mindset, but all rather individual, this particular group of work. Okay, yeah, so I don't know what there is to say, really, at this point. One thing I can say, actually, about the work, for quite a while, it simply proceeds forward. And what I mean by that is nothing gets painted out. Things only get painted in, and if they get changed, they get quieted, but they don't get removed. And it's kind of exciting, you know, analogous to a life, right? We cannot do anything but move forward. So I realize that in retrospect, but I like that analogy, that nothing can be removed. We maybe can forget, but we can't unknow, we can't undo. So they're made that way. Yeah. Right. I have a kind of nice discomfort with these. It's not painful, but for me they look very much like what I do, but they feel a little bit outside of me, and that's great, you know, I mean. But the obvious questions, which I'm sure you've noticed, you know, questions of symmetry, right? Questions of the decorative, you know, questions of the graphic, you know, certainly painting and structure and light and space, they're all sort of living in there together. Yeah. Yeah, and this is, I think, the last image that I have. And yeah, that's it for tonight. But I'm happy to try to answer anything you might want to ask me. And thank you for listening.